Yeah. Oh, there we go. Video. Hello, boys.
Hello, Dave.
You ready?
Yeah. No.
Hi guys, welcome back, Kalclash Fitness. Now, in one of my previous videos, my main man Roy made a request to talk about my experiences of triathlon, okay? So before we get cracking, if you guys want any video on any topic that I know anything about, comments down below and I'll endeavour to make that video, alright? So, if you want it, I'll make it. It's our channel, I see this channel as our channel, you know, so if you want a video made, just let me know what you want and I'll make that. But for now, triathlon experiences, man, it's so much to unpack with triathlon. You know, you've got 3 different sports to master. I did it for what, 7 years, and I'm talking in the past tense here, but I don't see my triathlon journey to be over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just taking a break, as I have done many times over that 7 years. You can't just, for me, I can't just hammer something 100% all the time, you know. I'll always come back to a little bit of weightlifting in between. I'll cover this more detail, but if I find if I do high weight, low rep exercises, it keeps me good for my return to endurance sports, okay, explosive power. But for now, let's unpack a little bit about triathlon, and as I'm going through, if you want any specific videos made on triathlon, then that's fine. Let me know what you want me to elaborate on. But starting out, you know, I could talk about starting out in triathlon all day long. You've got to get the right equipment, you've got to get your head around training 3 different sports. I wasn't in the best shape when I first started training. At the same time, I just embarked on my barefoot running journey as well, so there's a lot to take on. I think I'd just been transitioning to being vegan as well, so there's so much new. I was about 18 stone when I started training triathlon. But I just jumped into it basically. One of my friends jumped in, I thought it sounded cool. Started training on my mountain bike. I bought a road bike through the Cycle to Work scheme, a good one. Still love that bike today, I'm looking at it right now. Team Boardman, aluminium frame, Shimano 105 group set. Phenomenal bike, you know, I can still go out, ride that all day long. Wonderful bike. So getting set up, getting the right equipment. So I bought that bike on the Cycle to Work scheme, which was, you pay for it before tax and it comes out your wage monthly, so that was a cost-effective way of doing that. I bought the cheapest wetsuit going, swimming wetsuit, Orca one. Used that all the way through up until Ironman. Never steered me wrong. Love that wetsuit, and you know, I wouldn't consider myself to be an amazing swimmer, but I've never got out of the water outside of the top 10%. You know, so that wetsuit has, you know, people are getting in there with wetsuits 10 times the cost of what I paid for that, and I'm getting out of the water before them, and they're stronger swimmers than me in the swimming pool. So starting out, keep things cheap, keep your training under control. But one thing that I've seen time and time again from people that want to get into triathlon is that it just feels like there's a mental barrier to entry, and they you know, they try and, you know, dabble with the training the 3 sports, but they never sign up to an event and they never get there. The first thing you need to do is just jump in and sign up to an event and then start working towards it. And it might be an absolute car wreck of an event, but at least you've done it. Do you know what I mean? It's that mental inertia of just worrying about the unknown. But that's the excitement as well. And let's get into that now. So, one of the most enjoyable things about triathlon for me was just the absolute out and out fear of open water swimming, the unknown, the fear of the unknown, especially in those first couple of events. So my first event came along. I mean, my swimming was appalling when I first started training. Had a couple of months getting in gear, did a couple of open water swim trainings down at a local reservoir, and there you go. You find yourself in this huge group of people, wetsuits, swimming caps, goggles on. You've seen a few waves go off in front of you, and it's time to get in the water. The adrenaline dump that you get there is just second to none. You know, that moment of anticipation of waiting to get into the water of all these other people. You get into this cold, dark, murky water. You know, it's likely to be very early in the morning. You're tired. Everyone's nervous around you. You know, you get into that water. You take a piss in your wetsuit to try and warm yourself up a little bit. As soon as you get in, your breath just leaves your body. You start hyperventilating. You need to prepare for that. Bring that under control. You can prepare for doing that with cold baths and things, but you know, just that experience of that first open water swim, you know, you try and warm yourself up as much as you can, get your head under, the buzzer, the starting gun goes, and then it's just thrashing and craziness, and trying to measure and maintain that panic all the way through the swim, really, for your first swim or your first couple of outings out. That's how it is, you know. You get out the water and it's such a rush. You get on your bike, you complete your first triathlon, and you're hooked, absolutely hooked, and you can't. There's no looking back from there. I'm going to do another set, and we're going to continue this video. Okay, back. Slightly red-faced, slightly out of breath, but yeah. So, first triathlon is an experience. You know, you look back, and really the things that stand out are the swim and the transitions, because they're the things really that you're most likely to have never really experienced in that way. Transition should and can be practiced. Again, I can make a video on this, but I meticulously went through and practiced. So before, during and after, really, always practicing transition, as if it's like the fourth event really for triathlon. You can save minutes, you know, and especially for my first triathlon, that was a sprint. So it was a 750 metre swim, a 13-mile bike, and a 5k run. You know, to save a minute or two on a 5k run, it's going to take you years. To save a minute or two on a transition is effortless. Really, you just need to research it and learn about how not to make mistakes. Such as make sure your shoelaces are undone, you can just slip your shoes on. Talcum powder in your shoes, making sure that your cycling shoes aren't done up. When you get there, so many mistakes, you know, I've made them, and there's so many nerves when you're setting up. It's easy, you know, you learn all these things, and then, you know, when you get to the event itself, you're so nervous that these things go out the window. So it's just drumming it in. So you get your first event out of the way, you're hooked, you know, you're training, you start making new friends, you can join triathlon clubs. My you know, close mates got into it, and we were, you know, this little unit together really, training towards common goals. So we signed up to the world's hardest half Ironman at the time, which now doesn't run. That was in Exmoor, and that was so daunting coming up to that event. And you know, an entire year's worth of training. We got there, and it was disastrous for me. So the three of us, you know, the three musketeers, we got there and completed the swim. The swim was fine, half Ironman swim, and I was absolutely flying really. Came out the swim, got on the bike, I was absolutely smashing the bike, and then my rear wheel at the bottom of this huge descent just turned into cream cheese really. Basically about 4 or 5 of the spokes just popped out of the wheel. The wheel turned to absolute cream cheese, and that was the end of my race really. I was sat at the bottom of the hill just watching everyone that I was in front of just whip past me. Terrible feeling, but you know, it's again a learning curve. I went back, I conquered Exmoor, although it nearly beat me again, but I did eventually complete it. But you know, it's experiences. I stuck around, I supported everyone, supported my mates. I was there cheering to the very last person crossing the finishing line. You can't be bitter. These things do happen in triathlon, and that is just such an unknown, and you almost need a mechanical failure on your bike to realise that, you know, in the swim and the run, really it's all up to you. It's all physical. But when you're on the bike, you've got that added unknown element of, you know, mechanics of a machine that you're reliant on. You're not just reliant on yourself, you're reliant on this machine too. So it's about bike maintenance, having a reliable mechanic, which, you know, I didn't have, which is why my rear wheel blew out. But just being able to, you know, rely on your machine and know how to repair your machine in battle. essentially. So, you know, just like a gun is, you know, an extension of a soldier, the bike is an extension of a triathlete, and you should know that inside and out, and you should be confident getting on that weapon and knowing that it's going to be able to carry you to the finishing line efficiently, quickly, but most importantly safely. I'm going to do another set and we'll continue with the final chapter of the triathlon story. Again, I can elaborate on any of this, I'm whipping through it, but you know, this is my story in retrospect, before whatever next chapter comes, whenever that might be. You know, I could do an entire series on swimming, for example. I'm sure everyone's got lots of questions about that. But we'll move on to chapter 3, which includes, you know, some successes as well. So let's get cracking. Okay, so looking back, you know, my son was born in 2015. I took time out again, spent almost a year probably lifting weights again, just like I am now, and that's happened one other time in my triathlon journey as well. So lifting weights and just taking my mind onto something, you know, that doesn't take too much of my time. It's a bit less stressful in terms of, you know, just the amount of sheer time triathlon takes out of your day, out of your week, out of your life. So son was born. Eventually got back into triathlon, started doing well again, you know, had a 3rd place in my age group at an event, and you know, things were going great. Moved to the south coast again, still training, still having that friendly competitive rivalry. Took a bit more time out, again lifting weights, deadlifting, squatting, bench pressing, but making sure everything's explosive, powerful exercises, and came back again, made my comeback, started training for Ironman, qualified for the European Championships to represent Great Britain in sprint triathlon on the road to Ironman, which was great. Again, that came from, you know, lifting weights, transitioning back into triathlon, and then qualifying for that European Championship. So it goes to show, you know, that the weightlifting transfers, but I'll focus on that a little bit more another time. Then Ironman came along, and Ironman took a lot out of me, to be honest, physically, mentally, just my skeleton, even down to my skeleton. Ironman, you know, the training, I took the training, not that I didn't take it seriously, but the sheer amount of time required to invest into it, I just didn't have. So you know, it was an awesome experience. The weather was horrific. I can't tell you how bad the weather was. I'll leave a link up to my summary of the event. That weather was legendary. Now for the outdoor triathlon, what year was it? 2018. Whew, man, that was windy, raining all the way through, freezing cold, just ridiculous weather. It was tough. But got through it. I remember getting off my bike, I was on a TT bike at this point, and got off the bike, and well, I'd been stretched out in that position from the swim and the bike. Got off the bike, I couldn't bend at all. Literally got off the bike and I was stuck in that rigid upright position. I couldn't bend, and it was so just trying to move anything was so painful. I thought I was going to have to pull out there and then, you know. I started the run like that, I could barely move my left shoulder, I couldn't bend, everything was just so painful. Eventually, you know, my spine was able to move, shoulder got worse to the point that I just couldn't move it. I can't remember how I was holding it, but couldn't move my shoulder. That was excruciating. Again, I thought I was going to have to pull out and stop. I was just so wet, so cold all the way through. But the support of the fellow athletes, the support of the crowd, everything, it was, you know, it was an uplifting experience. I knew that there was people watching me on the app all the way through as well, so, you know, it spurred me on, completed it, fantastic, wonderful, exhilarating experience to cross that finishing line, as you can see from the photos. And yeah, I did one other event after that. It was a relay triathlon, but you did all 3 of the events and then passed over to your teammate. They did the full sprint triathlon and then passed over to your 3rd teammate. They did it. You know, obviously it was competitive, but it was more of a laugh as well. It was just a, you know, a great time. And I think really to be honest, that summarises triathlon for me. Is, you know, the competitive element, the exhilaration, the swim, all of that, but also the camaraderie that you get from, you know, your teammates, but also your fellow competitors, the supporters, is second to none really. You know, sometimes the training can be miserable and long and a grind, but you always know when you get to the event, nothing comes close. No marathon, half marathon, whatever event it's going to be, nothing comes close to triathlon. The nerves, the feeling that you get before you get in the water, the nerves you get setting up your transition, getting out the water, getting to your transition area, having a look around, how many bikes are left, whereabouts you place coming out, you know, smashing out, seeing if you can get spaces back, you know, trying to get your bike back the first, and, you know, getting on the run, trying not to be sick. Man, triathlon is so exhilarating. I will be back, you know, there's no doubt about it. I'll be back. For the time being, you know, I'm taking time out. You know, people seem to think that that's permanent. It's not, you know, it's not. I can lift weights and come back. I lifted weights, I came back, I qualified for the European Championships and completed an Ironman. You can do anything you set your mind to. The key importance is doing something you enjoy. I'm still running, I'm lifting weights, and at some point I'll be back in competition. But for now, I'm here doing what I enjoy and helping to support everybody that watches these videos. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you've made it to the end, please do give it a like, a comment down below. All of that stuff helps, and it gives me an idea of what you guys want to watch as well, because I'll make it for you guys. We're a community, we're a family. So for now, I'm going to complete my workout. You know what to do by now. Keep it rolling.